That's some good tea. Hey guys, my name is Justine. I'm the Wandering Hermit. I'm your brand strategist and designer, helping coaches and entrepreneurs stand out in the social media space. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to create a brand story that sells. It's based on observing top coaches and entrepreneurs like Tony Robbins, Marie Forleo, and Gary Vaynerchuk. So without further ado, let's hop into my computer, and by the end of this video, you're gonna learn how to create your own brand story. Hey, we're now here on my computer. So here is how to create a brand story that sells. So let's get started. So why do you think that top coaches and entrepreneurs, get vulnerable when they're being interviewed or when the camera is on them? It's because it's a marketing or branding strategy. So are they being manipulative with this? Of course, it's a way to make them different in the marketplace. The purpose of branding is to make yourself different, make yourself not a commodity, to raise your prices and to be remembered. That's because no two stories are the same. They may have the same story structure, but they would never be identical. So the story actually presents the idea, product, or service in a new way. So here are some examples of top coaches and entrepreneurs' story. Let's start with Marie Forleo. So Marie Forleo's story began when she was 23 years old. She was stuck in this mindset that the businesswoman or the entrepreneurial woman should only focus on one niche. She should only focus on one thing because that's what society told her, is that you have to focus on one thing at a time or else you will fail. And she has been struggling with this for many, many years. When she was asked what does she do, she was always struggling to find the words. And then she come up with multi-passionate entrepreneur, which is kind of cool. It was her term that she referred to herself, but she didn't really realize what it means when she was 25 years old, when she joined a dance group. So she was intimidated by all these dancers who are more talented than her. And when the music started, she started sobbing like crazy on the dance floor because she realized that she loved to dance, and she realized that she's not that typical entrepreneur, and thus becomes the authority figure to become the unconventional entrepreneur or the multi-passionate, multidisciplinarian entrepreneur. So that is Marie Forleo. Next story is Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins was raised in an environment where his parents are constantly fighting. One day on Thanksgiving, some guy brought groceries for them. Young Tony went over to his father so they can receive the groceries since he's the man of the house. His father just rejected the groceries. The two men argued. So the man said to Tony's father, "Don't let your family suffer because of your ego." Tony's father just grabbed those groceries and put them on the table. Tony realized that there is good in people. He gave this story in a seminar, which he pointed out that you need to focus on the right things, what it means, because perception is everything, and what are you going to do about that? What is your action towards the situation that you are currently in? That is his story. It is to make a point. The next one is Gary V. Love him or hate him, the guy has a lot of stories to tell. Gary grew his father's business um, through social media sites like Twitter and YouTube. And he talks about building this huge wine library platform for everyone to consume about wine. He is always posting content on YouTube and replying comments on Twitter. He is actually showing us how he builds his father's business, and how he builds VaynerMedia is through this arduous and Herculean grind and hustle of posting content on social media, and also to making a name for himself as the wine guy, and eventually transferring him into becoming one of the greatest and most profound digital marketers in the world today. Gary's story is all about being an authority figure, about that hustle and that grind, that not everything is an overnight success. You really have to work hard for it. I think Gary Vee is the father of grind in the hustle culture. So here are the benefits of storytelling. The number one thing about storytelling is it allows you to be different because you have your own story. Your business has a story also, and it's different for everyone. Second one is it pre-frames the business. It depends on the story. Pre-framing the business as a luxury. Is it for the masses? Is it a one-time value? It's reframing the business to increase its perceived value in the marketplace. The third one is rapport and goodwill, building the relationships with you and your audience. This is actually important when you're selling the product, which is the fourth benefit of this of storytelling. Selling the product requires you what is the history of the product, how is it made, what fibers or what are the features of the product. You can tell that through a story. What are the customer's benefits? And the fifth one is to attract the ideal customers to your business. Through storytelling, you can actually communicate the values and the culture of the business. Before we can get to the step-by-step process, we need to understand the principles of first, it needs to be relevant for your business. Okay, go for too much information here. Don't be over the top like you were operated because of your sweat glands, because you're sweating all over. And your business is not about operating people about their sweatiness or sweat glands. Just remain focused on your business. If it's your coaching, how did you become a coach, etc. So the second one is be authentic. You can craft a fabricated story. It may touch the hearts of people now, so you can sell your product, but in the long term, if they find out, the business will be in huge, huge trouble. So be authentic and truthful as possible when you create your story. Here is the step by step process on how to create your brand story. The first thing is you have to decide whether it's a personal brand or it's a consumer brand. So let's define the two. So the personal brand is all about you. This is good for solopreneurs, influencers, and celebrities because we all have a personal story. Personal brand stories are very good for businesses that are starting out because you are your own best testimonial, especially if service-based business that has a lot of human contact. You really need to have a personal brand. So the second one is a consumer brand story. You have to empathize with your target market. What is their situation before your product arrived, right? And where would you bring them if they used your product or service? Consumer brand stories are basically case studies, social proof around the product or the service that is quality. Mainly, it focuses on the consumer journey throughout the buying process. So, to construct all of this, we'll use the universal story method. This was developed by Joseph Campbell. So this is Joseph Campbell's 8 stages. This is very, very complicated framework for you to use. This is based on Joseph Campbell's book, Heroes with a Thousand Faces, where he theorized that all good stories has a formula that makes these stories successful. I know that this one is actually pretty complicated, so we're actually going to make this simpler. I call it the three-step story method that I use for my clients to create their brand stories. The first one is the status quo, the client's life before they've used your product or your service. If you're a personal brand, it's before you became a coach, an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's you started your business because you want to get away from mediocrity of the 9 to 5 job. That may be your status quo. The defining moment is when you meet that person, you meet that mentor, you meet that friend that changes your perspective. Sometimes it's a change of mind, it's a change of insight, it's a change of heart of the situation. And then the transformation. This is the step by step process of how you unfold to becoming a coach, a doctor, a lawyer. The transformation has to be really fleshed out. So this three-step process has to be fleshed out. The more detailed it is, the more powerful the brand story can be. So after you've created the three-step method, you have to review it again and ask yourself, what is the goal of the story. So every story has a goal. The four goals of a story is it to sell or promote the product? So let me give you an example here. Marie Forleo just published a book called Everything is Figure Outable. And when she was being interviewed, she would tell a story about her mom fixing everything in the house, from a tropical orange radio to fixing the roof. So this is a classic way to sell or pre-sell the product to an audience. And she would always tell stories about the women inside of the book. The second point is to frame yourself as an authority figure, that you've gone through the process of business like Gary Vee did. He framed himself as an authority figure in social media, that this is a process that he's done in order for his business to succeed. So driving a point, this is what Tony Robbins did, where he told the story when he was 11 years old, make a point to his audience on to focus on the good things, the meaning of it, and what you're going to do about it. The final piece of the goal of the story is to just have a relationship with your audience. So if you want to see my personal brand story, I would highly recommend that you follow me on Instagram. It's at Wandering Designs. So on Instagram, I really get personal with my audience. I teach also a lot of value there. So follow me on Instagram if you can. Woo! We just scratched the surface of it. So if you want to learn how to really create a profitable brand, I highly recommend that you check out my book. It's the 5 steps to profitable brand. Raise your prices and attract your ideal clients. It's only $5. I promise you, it has tons of value in it. So pick up a pen, open up your Google Docs, open up your Word, and write your brand story. So if you've reached this part of the video, I would like to say thank you so much, and consider subscribing and hit that bell icon for notifications, because in the next video I'm going to talk about how to brand your e-commerce business for success. So subscribe, hit the bell icon, and all those YouTube stuff that is needed, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.